2006, I gave a talk on tithing, and I wrote a pamphlet on this subject. And Shawn thought it was time for me to talk about tithing again today. And so he asked me to do that talk that I had done. But when I look back at that talk, I realized that I've learned a great deal and expanded my understanding of tithing in the last 7 years. And so the talk seemed a little obsolete. The pamphlet was still relevant, and that's why Shawn asked me to give one to everybody, so you should have gotten one on your way in, otherwise get it on your way out. But I realized that the context in which the pamphlet could be read and best used for our deeper growth and understanding needed to be expanded. And so today I'm going to speak about what I've come to understand about tithing and why it has a value to me that far surpasses anything that has to do with money or success or, for that matter, anything material. The truth about tithing is important because it takes us to the very heart of the matter of why we really are at Unity, what we're learning here, why we come here, what we hope to get out of being here. I think my history of tithing is probably similar to most of yours. At first I regarded tithing as an obligation, a rule, something that I had to do in order to keep some religious organization supporting itself. Another of my earlier thoughts was that it was charity. It was me, out of the goodness of my heart, supporting a religious organization. There was some sense that I had to do this in order to be a good person so that I would have God's favor, but actually it was, since I regarded God as some guy who was out there who had human qualities such as being able to be disappointed, being able to be angry, punishing me, stuff like that, it was so that God would not punish me. In both cases, these characterizations of tithing, I was outside of that religious organization, outside of God, and both had power over me. I first came to Unity in 2002, and by 2006, I had gone through what I like to call the first major transition that is necessary in our pursuit of truth. Until that time, I think I thought of the physical world as source. Things in the physical world like success, relationship, money, even where I lived and how I looked would determine my value as a human being and would also determine how happy and fulfilled I would be in life. The first important transition I made was in realizing that thought is the source of these things. That these things that we see in the physical world are reflections, outpicturings, manifestations of thought. The revelation was that thought comes first. When I wrote the pamphlet and gave my talk in 2006, this was the level to which my consciousness had grown. I understood that our church, Unity Center, is a source of new thoughts, a source of knowing that thought is the source of all things we see in the world, of success, of money, of power, of love and relationship. Thought. And in addition to reminding us that thought is key, in our every interaction with the center, we are given new thoughts to expand our understanding and give us greater access to prosperity. So having come to this important milestone in understanding, I wrote in the pamphlet about how we give back 10% of what we have been given and what we have manifested financially as a result of the new thoughts that we have received in the church. And in doing this, the church thrives more, gives us more thought, and since new thoughts are the cause of manifestation, we see more and more of what we want to see in the world. This is all well and good, and does seem to be, in fact, the recipe for manifesting the things we want to see in our life and in the physical world. At the time I wrote the pamphlet, I thought, okay, I've got it. Tithe, and I will achieve the goal of manifestation and be happy. However, as I went along and in fact did see a lot of great stuff appear, I began to realize that there's a big fallacy to this way of thinking. And it's one of the major pitfalls we see when we study at Unity and study New Thought. In this way of thinking, I thought of tithing as a technique to use that would get me the things that I really thought were important and that I wanted and needed in the physical world. The physical world was still where I thought I lived, what I thought of as the real world. And spirituality, or the invisible world, was a tool that I could hopefully use to get to the goal of having things in the real physical world. If we're truly to understand and practice and reap the enormous benefits of what we're taught at Unity, there's a second crucial transition we have to make. And this can be the most challenging one because it not only flies in the face of what most of us have been taught through all our earlier lives, but it also flies in the face of what we think we see before us, where we think we live, and what most humans agree is true. In order to truly utilize and live the principles we're taught here, we must make the transition from thinking that we're doing all this spiritual stuff so that we can have something in the real physical world, to understanding that the spiritual stuff is the real world. The spiritual stuff is the point, the whole point. It's the only world that exists, or at least it's the only world we can experience. So if we're using tithing to get results or achieve something in the physical world, or giving 10% so that we can get back 100 times the money we put in, we're missing the point. The fact is, we live exclusively in the invisible world of experience. Let me show you what I mean, if you would all close your eyes. With your eyes closed, notice how you know that you are here. Notice how you know that you exist, that you are present. There's a sense of consciousness, a sense of I am. This sense of consciousness doesn't have your name on it. It's not located in any particular place. In fact, it's invisible. It can't be seen, but it's definitely here as experience. An invisible, non-physical, non-locatable experience. So it could be said that who you are is an invisible consciousness located nowhere. Now, notice that you have sensations: itching, tightness, shortness of breath, hotness, coldness, relaxation, calm, pounding, rushing. With your eyes open, you might call these physical sensations, but with your eyes closed, you can't even be sure you have a body. All you know is that within your consciousness, you are experiencing sensations. And the experience of these sensations, like your consciousness, is invisible. I cannot see your experience of hotness or coldness or tension. You cannot see it either. You may see the results of it, but you cannot see the experience itself. You can only experience it. Take a moment to be with and notice the sensations you're experiencing. Notice whether they stay the same or keep changing, whether they seem to be comfortable or uncomfortable. Doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong here, nothing to get, nothing to change, let go of, or release. Just be with them. So it could be said that who you are is an invisible consciousness experiencing invisible sensations. Now notice your thoughts. Notice you can think of anything. Locate a zebra in your thoughts. Say, got it when you got it. Got it. Shouldn't take you more than the time it takes to think of it for you to get it. And the time it takes to think of anything is infinitesimal. Now, this is one of my favorite ones. See yourself doing the twist on the rings of Saturn. Say, got it when you got it. Got it. If you're having trouble seeing this or finding yourself saying, well, that's impossible, Saturn's rings are not solid and you can't breathe on Saturn, remember I didn't ask you to take this into the physical universe, just to see it in the invisible world of unlimited possible thoughts. Notice that all the things you see in this realm are also invisible, not solid or physical. You have infinite choice of what you can see here, unlike in the physical world where it seems much harder to see things. And this infinite world is inside you and always available to you. So it could be said that who you are is an invisible consciousness, experiencing invisible sensations and containing unlimited invisible thoughts. In fact, what I have just described is your entire world of experience, and is the only place in which you live. All you truly are is an invisible consciousness experiencing invisible sensations and containing unlimited invisible thoughts, period. You are not the things that happen in the world. You are not even your body. You are an invisible consciousness experiencing these things as invisible thoughts and sensations. Anything that happens in the physical world is only experienced as thoughts and sensations inside you. Sit for a moment and experience your whole self. Experience yourself as an invisible consciousness and simply have the thoughts and sensations that you have. This is all you ever are. This is all that's ever happening. Nothing dangerous about it. No outcomes. No future. Nothing that has to happen. Nowhere you have to get. Nothing that can be lost or gained for that matter. Just consciousness. Thoughts and sensations all the time, at every moment, no matter what's going on in the world. So knowing this, knowing that you are really invisible and live only in the invisible world, open your eyes and look out at the visible world, which is not where you live. You're just looking out at it and experiencing it as your thoughts and sensations. So the only place you can experience anything is in the invisible world of consciousness, via invisible thoughts and sensations. This being so, the only reason you want anything is so that you can have an interior experience. But you know how Shawn says if you want something, you have to have a consciousness for it? What this really means is that when we look at the world, we are only seeing what's inside ourselves. If the only way in which we can experience anything in the world is through invisible thoughts and sensations that are experienced inside of our consciousness, then no matter what we look at in the world, all we will see is our own thoughts and sensations. So the only way we can ever see what we want in the physical world is if we already know we have it in consciousness. There's nothing in the world that is intrinsically important or intrinsically means anything. Things in the world only reflect whatever thought we're already having. And the paradox is that once we know we have it inside, we don't need to see it in the physical world. We have it in the only place we can ever have anything, in the invisible world of experience, inside. But the further paradox is that since the world simply reflects our consciousness back to us exactly as it is, when we have the consciousness, we must see things in the world that reflect our consciousness. A mirror must reflect what's in front of it. There I am, because I'm standing in front of it. We think what we want is things. That's what it looks like. But what we really want is the experience we think those things will bring us. This is where the illusion lies. The truth is, things can't bring us an experience. They can only reflect what we are thinking, reflect the part of the infinite consciousness that we have been willing to open ourselves up to. Now the question is, what keeps us from opening up to the truth that who we are is an invisible, invulnerable, infinite consciousness with infinite abundance available to us right now with the flip of a mental switch? What keeps us from the capacity of experiencing wholeness, and in fact anything, at any time? Well, as I've come to understand in my work in thought exchange, when we have an early childhood experience in which a positive thought becomes associated with a negative outcome, which is experienced inside of us as uncomfortable sensations, we will run away from that thought every time we encounter it by taking on thoughts that won't produce the uncomfortable sensations. So for example, when we were young, and if we said, I can do it, and someone slapped us across the face and said, no, you can't, every time you think the thought, I can do it, you're going to feel an uncomfortable sensation and have the memory, usually unconscious by this time, of being slapped. To get away from that sensation, which is totally harmless now, it's just a tingling or a tightness or a fluttering, we will take on the thought, I can't do it. And I can't stress enough, it's not a matter of whether we do it or not. It's that we go around having the constant experience of being a person who can't do it. And this experience is what we see when we look out at the world, no matter what we're looking at. So we grow up depriving ourselves of all sorts of experiences of success, prosperity, happiness, ability, because these all now come with uncomfortable sensations and with thoughts that we can't have them. The only way to be able to get back to the place where we can choose any thought and thus have any experience is to be willing to experience the sensations and have the thoughts that come with the thought we wish to hold. So everything we do, everything that happens, everything we go for, everything we achieve is not about the achievement, the manifestation, the success itself. It's about developing the ability to experience anything so that we can take on any thought and be with whatever harmless, meaningless, albeit sometimes uncomfortable, thoughts and sensations that arise when we take on that thought. So if the interior experience is the whole ball of wax, of what use is the physical world? Why do we have it? Well, as I said before, many of us started out thinking that the physical world was the object, the goal, and the spiritual world was a tool to help us get there. In fact, it's the opposite. The world is a tool, like a mirror, that we can use to see ourselves and see where our consciousness is. What we see in the mirror is not real. There's no person in the mirror. but we use a mirror to fix or correct a lot of stuff on us. When we look in the mirror and see that our hair is not combed or our makeup is a mess, things we wouldn't be aware of if we didn't look in the mirror. It always freaks me out that I would never know what my face looked like if I didn't have a mirror. I mean, you never see yourself. We then can pick up a brush or fix our makeup. We would never look in a mirror, see that our makeup is a mess, and put makeup on the mirror. That would be insane. We would end up seeing a face that had makeup on it, but when we went out of the house, nothing would have changed about us because we were creating the mirror. And all you'd see in the mirror is makeup. There'd be no you if you're not standing in front of it. So we're working with the physical world. We are not in it. There's nothing we need in the physical world, just as there's nothing we need in a mirror. The event, the money, the success, the relationship are not at all important in and of themselves, but they are useful in several ways. First of all, they're useful in that they bring up or shed light on different sensations and thoughts that we have in the real world, which, remember, is the invisible world inside us. So we get not only to see what's inside us, but to practice being with it. They're just sensations and thoughts. They have no intrinsic meaning. They can't hurt, change, expand, or contract the invisible consciousness of infinite possibilities that we already are. And by practicing being with these sensations and thoughts, we get closer and closer to an experience of peace, an experience of love, an experience of forgiveness. In my studies in unity and in my work in New Thought, I've come to the conclusion that peace, love, and forgiveness are all the same thing. They are nothing more than allowing things to be as they are. And we can only allow things to be as they are when we know that we can't be hurt by them. So by going through the events of the world, knowing that they can't hurt or diminish who we really are in any way, we get to practice and experience the infiniteness and the fact that at all times we can have peace, love, and forgiveness by simply being with whatever's going on inside of us. Remember, there's nothing going on out there. Inside of us, exactly as it is. So all these events that happen, especially the repeated upsets, have been designed by us, again, most likely unconsciously, to give us practice in being with thoughts and sensations that we have run from as children, because as children, we had nobody to be with us when we were having them. The harder the incident, the more practice and growth we get if we know how to use it for that instead of trying to solve our problems. It's like being in the Marines. The drill sergeant has you do 100 push-ups. They're very unpleasant, but a Marine does not spend his efforts trying to get the drill sergeant to stop telling him to do push-ups, because the Marine knows that the more push-ups he does, the more prepared he is for what he has to do, the more stamina and strength he has at his disposal. So we create these incidents, these challenges, these problems, apparent lack of money, breakups of relationships, career challenges, health issues, and by our being with them, our inner child finally has someone to be with it through these thoughts and sensations, and we are able to reclaim the thoughts we have rejected and our ability to know that who we are is infinite, invisible consciousness with infinite, immediate possibilities for experience no matter what's going on. We generate these situations to give ourselves that opportunity, but so often we fall into the illusion of thinking that the situations are the point, or that they're even real, and we try to change them or get rid of them, rather than turning inward and experiencing them for the sake of reclaiming and expanding our ability to experience. We all know the song, "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream." What if life is just a dream? Think about a dream. All sorts of things happen, some of them upsetting, some of them lovely, but nothing is really happening. Nothing physical, that is, even though it seems like it at the time. The effect of a dream is that we have the experience. We learn things about what we're thinking and feeling. We experience being with sensations. But then we wake up, and nothing is left of the dream except the experience, which we carry in the invisible world inside of us. Lately, I like to liken life to a game of Monopoly. Remember Monopoly? Yeah. Why do we play Monopoly? We lose a house. You get very upset. You make a lot of money. You're thrilled. You didn't lose a house. The money you won isn't real. You know that at any moment you can step away from the game and nothing has been lost or gained. What if life is actually the biggest game of all? Oh my God, this disaster happened. Yay, I fixed it. I'm winning. I'm losing. Oh, I'm right. I'm wrong. Like the weather report. I love it. Bad news. It's going to rain tomorrow. But fortunately, it's going to be sunny the next day. The truth is, we have as much ability to be joyful on a rainy day as we do on a sunny day, and vice versa. Why? Because we know that we are not that rainy day or that sunny day. I think the object of life is to experience ourselves as the infinite, unlimited, invisible beings that we are all the time, no matter what the circumstance. In order to do this, we have to be able to think any thought. In order to be able to think any thought, we have to be able to be with the sensations and other thoughts that come up when we think that thought we want to think. The physical world and all the events in it mean nothing, but they help us because if we're conscious, we use every event to reflect back to us our thoughts and sensations. And the events that send us into the most uncomfortable thoughts and sensations are the events that are doing the most healing for us, because they are giving us the opportunity to be with those thoughts and sensations. And by being with them, we have access to think and thus experience anything we want in the only place we can ever have anything, inside. We live in the world of experience, not in the world of stuff. One more thing about games. They have rules. In baseball, you could run from first base directly to third base, but you wouldn't be playing by the rules and restrictions of the game of baseball. In the theater, you could stop the show in the middle and chat with the audience, but you would be breaking the rules and restrictions of the game of theater. We create these rules and restrictions because they give us the best chance of learning the internal lessons which are the only reason we play the game, by safely setting up the conditions with which we wrestle in life so that we can experience them inside and master them. The game or the show itself don't matter, but playing them by the rules gives us the opportunity to move closer to the only thing we really want: complete access at every moment to the infiniteness that we are. Another way of saying this, of course, is complete awareness of an access to God. In my opinion, all that is complete awareness and access to, at every moment, no matter what game we're in, the infiniteness that we are. Right now, we are playing the game of church. It's a game. It doesn't mean anything. It's not necessary. But we've set it up, all of us as a group, to learn certain things safely, joyfully, together. So what are the rules of the game of church? Well, we all get together and form and support an organization that is designed to give us new thoughts that will expand our ability to experience anything we want in life. The object of the game is to have this organization be as thriving and prosperous as possible. Why? Not because it's about the organization, but because the only way to get the organization to thrive is for us to be thriving ourselves inside. The church is nothing more than a mirror for us in which we get to see what we are thinking about prosperity. So the object of the game is for the church to be prosperous and thriving and give us new thoughts. But the purpose of the game is for us to be the prosperity that we will then see reflected in the church. Another way of saying this is that we win the game when the church is totally prosperous. But what we get when we win the game is the experience of the inner prosperity that caused the church to appear prosperous to us. The paradox of this game is that although it looks like we're getting new thoughts from the church, in fact, new thoughts can only show up to us as a reflection of our own connection with infinite possibility. So the church is being created by our thoughts, not vice versa. The church is not giving us our prosperity. We must be experiencing prosperity inside of ourselves in order for it to appear in the church. When we hold thoughts of lack or fear, the church immediately reflects those back to us as the church's non-abundance, so that we can see our own thoughts of non-abundance, our own experience of non-abundance. When we are willing to hold the thoughts we want to hold of abundance, which usually entails feeling uncomfortable sensations and noticing our negative thoughts, we see the physical evidence of those thoughts as a thriving church. In this game, There is no such thing as, the church isn't giving me enough, the church isn't doing enough, I'm not getting what I need from the church. There is no church. We're each creating our own experience of the church. We're each looking at ourselves in the church, and we each have the capacity to create the church however we want it to be, simply by connecting with the thoughts of abundance and staying with them no matter what we're seeing on the outside. Last year, when the church appeared to be in trouble, church wasn't in trouble. There was no church to be in trouble. It's a mirror. And it now appears that we have turned the church around to a great extent. But really, we turned ourselves around, inside. And the church is just reflecting that. It's always showing us where we have broken through and where there's more to break through. Winning this game is not having stuff in the world. It's knowing that we already have everything inside, and the only place we can ever have anything. The result, the side effect, as it were, of winning this game will be that the world will look the way we want it to look. But that is not the object. The object is to be able to experience having everything on the inside all the time, no matter what the circumstances. So you know the statement, be the thing you want to see in the world? That could also be worded, be the thing you want to get from the world. Because you can't get anything from the world. You can only see what you already are in it. Just like a mirror. You can get information as to what you are, or what you're not being, what part of you you already have that you're not aware of. But the object is to know that it's inside of us already. And the game of church helps us to see that. So, what does tithing have to do with all this? Well, tithing is one of the rules of the game. One of the most important and effective ways in which this game serves the purpose for which we play it. The tithing pamphlet I gave you today is written from within the game. It sets out the rules of the game and how to play it to get the greatest interior results out of the game. It's not the whole story, just as a ball game or Monopoly is not the whole story. But it shows you how to use the game to your best real advantage. For you. Not for the church. For you. I would have to say, as I look around the world, that one of our biggest problems, our biggest challenges, is money. Money, of course, like everything else physical, is nothing. But our thoughts about money create in most of us tremendous limitation in what we think we're allowed to think, what we think we're allowed to do, what we think we're allowed to have. Our thoughts about money, in many cases, reflect our seeing the world as a place of limitation and lack. This is because we erroneously think that money is limited, that money is hard to get, and that money, which we think of as so scarce, means things about our lack of value or worth. So we hold these thoughts about ourselves, and the result is that what we see around us is lack. In fact, money is no scarcer than water. It's all around us, everywhere. If you ask me for a glass of water, I'd give it to you. I'd give you 50 glasses of water. Why? Because I know water is infinite. So is money. It's everywhere. But we only see that portion that is in our consciousness. So one of the biggest issues we have is not money, but our consciousness about money, which is showing up in the mirror as our experiencing our lives as limited. And tithing is the greatest and most efficient way I know to break open that consciousness and experience abundance. The way tithing does it is this. By taking on the thought, money is abundant and flowing, which we must be thinking in order to tithe, otherwise we'd be insane to give away 1/10 of our money. By taking on this thought and taking action on it, we bring up every doubt we have about money, every fear, every uncomfortable sensation. So tithing is not fun. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It's about as much fun and as easy as doing 100 push-ups, or running a marathon, or being married. It brings up negative thoughts and uncomfortable sensations. But these negative thoughts and uncomfortable sensations, or more accurately, the fear of them, the avoidance of them, are what are keeping us from seeing the infinite abundance that already exists inside our invisible consciousness. Just as doing 100 push-ups gives us inner fortitude, just as running the marathon is not so much a physical exercise as a mental one, where we learn that we can stick with something no matter how uncomfortable and painful it feels. Marriage can be the same thing. If it's something we desire, we must be able to be with the painful thoughts and uncomfortable sensations that go with it. So when we tithe, we experience what it's like to hold the thought that money is abundant and plentiful. And very often, it's frightening to hold that thought and to feel the great discomfort and fear that goes with holding that thought. But when we tithe, we are holding that thought and honing our ability to experience abundance, which is the only way to have abundance. So can you see that there's another paradox here? We tithe in order to experience abundance. So when you experience abundance, you naturally tithe as an expression of that sense that you have more than enough and that the world is an abundant place. But it's even perhaps more important to tithe when you are not experiencing abundance, to give when you think you have nothing. This is the way to return to the experience of abundance, to open your vision wider, to see more of the infinite abundance you already have. It can be very scary, but walking through that fear is the most effective way I know of returning to an experience of abundance. If you would, for another moment, close your eyes. Imagine this church as being everything you would like it to be. Thriving, bustling with new thought and excitement, a place of confidence and prosperity, overflowing with finances and outreach and classes, giving you unlimited opportunities for participation on whatever level you would like to participate in offering. Via the Sunday service, via classes, via performances, via outreach, via volunteering, every aspect you need to be with and heal any of the blocks that you might have to experiencing yourself as infinite and abundant, safe and fulfilled at all times. Imagine the church being that. Expand your imagination. Go bigger. Really see whatever it is you want. Now, imagine your own life as all that abundance that you see in the mirror of the church. Imagine that the church's abundance that you're seeing in your mind's eye is an exact reflection of your internal abundance. Imagine yourself as rich as you want to be, doing whatever you want to do, money flowing, gratifying work, wonderful relationship. Go for it. Dare to imagine it. Seeing it? Now, holding that image in mind, notice where you're experiencing uncomfortable sensations, where you have a tightness in your chest, a pounding in your heart as you think about being completely abundant, or short of breath, feel like you're going to pass out. And notice all the thoughts you have about how that's impossible, not available to you, not something the world will give you. You are now experiencing what it feels like to be abundant, what your thoughts are when you are abundant. Tithing is not supposed to feel good. It's supposed to bring up whatever thoughts and sensations you have about abundance so that you can be with yourself, be with these thoughts and sensations, so that you can regain access to any thought by being able to be with the sensations and negative thoughts that come with that thought you wish to hold, that thought of abundance. And when you can do that, you will see the world, no matter what appears in the world, as abundant and infinite, flowing and satisfying, because that's where you live. And whatever you truly regard as prosperity must appear in the world before you. Prosperity is for you because it's in you, right now, not out there, not related to the physical world, in you, in the world of experience. And prosperity doesn't necessarily feel good. But when you can experience whatever prosperity feels like, you can stay constantly in the experience of prosperity and infiniteness, no matter what. So think about giving 10% of what you earned this week, today, right now. Notice the uncomfortable sensations and thoughts you have when you think about that. Would you like to conquer these thoughts and sensations? Would you like to live life knowing that these thoughts and sensations simply come with abundance and have no ability to stop you from doing, having, and thus experiencing anything? Then tithe. Try it. Today, I dare you. And instantly turn your prosperity consciousness around. Open your eyes. At 1 o'clock today, we're going to be doing a thought exchange workshop on prosperity. Bring your thoughts of what you really want to this workshop. They can be what you want inside or what you want in the physical world. And we'll look at them and see what sensations and negative thoughts they come with. And the moment you can be with all that comes with these thoughts, you'll be able to live in and experience these thoughts. It's a transformative, life-opening experience. Don't miss it. We're going to do the offering soon, and it really is an offering. We are offering ourselves the opportunity right here and now to have whatever we want in life. You don't have to tithe. You're not bad or wrong if you don't. But let me ask you this. If you were truly prosperous, would you tithe? Well, you are truly prosperous. I had to tithe to find that out. If you're not so sure, you may have to tithe to find that out too. Thank you. I'll see you at the workshop. Yeah.